Welcome and thanks for joining us for a Seahawks playoff preview on King 5 Plus alongside the great one, Chris Egan. I'm Paul Silvi. The Seattle Seahawks clinched the NFC's top seed with their 13-3 victory over the 49ers over the weekend. Their victory Saturday capped the most winning regular season in franchise history and the fourth time the Seahawks have secured that top seed. We'll have plenty on that. And big news regarding Pete Carroll being fired from the Raiders.
Yeah, we got Pete Carroll being fired by the Raiders. Also news coming out today, Paul. Clint Kubiak being requested to be interviewed. We knew this was coming. When you do well, this happens. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about head coach Mike McDonald, why I think he should be the coach of the year. General manager John Schneider, why he should be the executive of the year. But, Paul, before we move ahead, we've got to look back. And we got to go back to May when the schedule came out. Right here on this set on King 5 Plus. If you watched it, this man right here, right next to me, Paul Silvi, predicted the Seahawks to have 13 wins. Las Vegas said they were only going to have 7.5. This man said 13 wins. Paul Silvi, let's give him a big round of applause. You better believe it. If you listen to him, he knows what he's talking about. Paul.
Man.
Listen to this place.
I appreciate you drumming up the crowd and all that,
yeah.
But this man picked 12, so I felt like it was a 1-2 punch, Chris. Like we both felt the schedule was very favorable for the Seahawks, and 12 and 13 wins wasn't out of reach when we were talking.
No, and I think when we look back, I think one of our question marks for the national media was a lot of people were concerned with the Seahawks team getting rid of Geno Smith. A move that John Schneider had to make, getting rid of Geno Smith and bringing in Sam Darnold. I think at that point, Paul, I'm like, I think, and you and I have been watching this team for a long time, and we watched very closely under the Geno Smith era, that Sam Darnold was a better quarterback. He was a quarterback that helped the Minnesota Vikings get 14 wins. We felt this was an upgrade for the Seattle Seahawks, and in the end, it has been an upgrade. Seattle Seahawks, for the first time in franchise history with 14 wins, Paul, they get their fourth number one seed. 3 times before that the Hawks have been a number one seed, they've been to the Super Bowl in all 3 of those seasons. Obviously, they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Detroit. They take out the Denver Broncos in New Jersey. Both you and I were there for that one, and lose to Tom Brady and the Patriots in the 3rd Super Bowl. Here they are again, Paul, with that number 1 seed, and it's going to be fun to see what happens in the playoffs.
Well, when you talk about the NFL and the number 1 seed, they have it skewed to favor the number 1 because since 2020, that's when they had everybody at 7 playoff teams, but only the number 1 seed got the bye week, Chris. Before that, it was the top 2 teams that were getting a bye week. So now it's kind of skewed heavily in favor of that number 1 seed for the last 5-6 years that, man, if you get that number 1 seed, you're really in the catbird seat because everybody else is playing in the first round.
And with that in mind, let's take a look at the road to February, through February for the Seattle Seahawks, Paul. And you mentioned that they get the bye. They have a bye. They're going to sit and wait. They're going to play the lowest seed that is still out there. More than likely, and you're the one that predicted 13 wins. They ended up with 14, but when you look at the first round of the NFC, you've got the 5th seed, LA, the Rams at Carolina, a 4 seed. You got Green Bay, a 7 seed, kind of limping into the playoffs. They're going to be taking on the Chicago Bears, a 2 seed. San Francisco, a 6 seed at Philly, the number 3 seed. When you break down these playoffs, Paul, if you're looking, I'm thinking Philly probably holds serve at home against San Francisco. San Francisco, that could be the upset. Chicago, I think, takes care of Green Bay. And then the LA Rams are going to head into Charlotte. They're going to get that win over Carolina. Carolina is not a very good team, Paul. You watch them. You watch the Seahawks play them. I'm sorry, their game against Tampa Bay, they just don't like I think the LA Rams are coming to Seattle for the first round of the playoffs for the Hawks.
Yeah, I like the fact that the NFL kind of, you hate to say reseed, but they do kind of reseed it after that first round. So if there is an upset, that team isn't going to go play the 2nd or 3rd seed. They're going to have to play the highest seed is going to have to play the number 1 seed. So I like the way the NFL has done things there. But when we were talking to Steve Rabel on Saturday night after the showdown at Levi's Stadium, basically both agreed, and as you agree too, you're going to have to face an NFC West foe at some point in this playoff run.
You are, and the concerning thing for the Seahawks, if you go with my thoughts that they're going to be playing the LA Rams, this is an LA Rams team that has played the Seahawks very tough. They took out the Seahawks down there at SoFi Stadium 21-19. That's the game where Sam Darnold probably had his worst game of the season. December 18th, it's a game that may go down as the greatest regular season game in Seahawks history. Hawks win that game 38-37 with just a historic comeback in the fourth quarter, and they win it in overtime by going for the 2-point conversion. You look at that special teams play by Rashid Shaheed. He returns it, the punt for a touchdown, and then Sam Darnold heats up in that fourth quarter. He hooks up with A.J. Barner. A game goes to overtime, and Mike McDonald really had nothing to lose for him. We're going to talk about the coach and what he's done, but they decide to go for 2. Works out all right. Sam Darnold, calm and cool. They get the big victory. That ends up being a huge victory, Paul, because with that, they're not the number 1 seed.
Well, remember, staying with the Rams, they outplayed the Rams down there. If Sam doesn't throw 4 picks in that game, he throws the 4 picks. The Rams are playing on a field about this big. All they had to do was go up and down, 30, 40 yards, get field goals, touchdowns, whatever they could get. And the Seahawks defense rose to the occasion and, put a damper on any chance they would have of capitalizing on those turnovers. So as poorly as the Seahawks playing below their standards in Los Angeles, they still came down to a field goal of winning that game. So even in their worst day, they had a chance to beat the team that at that time was favored to win the Super Bowl.
No, I think that's a great point. And you look at a Seahawks team also, Paul, we mentioned why that number 1 seed is so important, why the NFL favors the number 1 seed is that bye. It's that bye week. What happens during a bye? Your players get healthy. They don't get injured. There is a chance in that first round of the playoffs, you go all out. Somebody's going to be leaving that game and will not be playing in the next round of the playoffs while the Seahawks are going to get healthier. You're going to have Charles Cross, who's going to be healing up. Hopefully he will be back on the field. And the health report was pretty good, wasn't it, heading into San Francisco? Not a lot of injuries on the Seahawks team.
No, seeing that, and I kind of held back from saying that on Saturday night as they had this bye week because you're like, oh, you guys, you've avoided some injuries. It's a kiss of death to say that.
Yep.
But you're right about Charles Cross, soft tissue injury and the hamstring, and they had a chance to actually rest him for that and get this extra week of rest here, maybe even extra 2 weeks, as they probably won't make him practice much going into that first round for the Seahawks at Lumen Field. But health-wise, Chris, as we've talked about, sometimes it's the healthiest team that wins, not the most talented. And right now, Seahawks are certainly a little bit of both, but one of the healthiest teams in the league.
Well, and I think midway through the season, if there was a concern with this Seahawks team, it's never really been about the defense. The defense has been there. Sure, there's a big concern with Sam Darnold and his turnovers this season. The other concern has been with the run game. When would this run game appear? And lately, the run game has just been fantastic. A great 1-2 punch with Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet's playing the best football of his career right now. They are very dangerous. And when you go into the playoffs, and you better believe it, Paul, in a couple weeks, it's probably going to be stormy here. It's going to be raining here. We don't have to be meteorologists to tell you that. You need a run game in the playoffs. And right now, the Seattle Seahawks, they've got a run game.
Yeah, 180 yards in their last game and 163 in the game before that. And, what's nice is those two guys, the 1-2 punch of Charbonnet and Walker, have stepped up their games. They're upwards of 70, 80, 90 yards a game. So they're splitting good time and making it happen. 2 different styles of running backs as well. But running with this team, the way this team is running the football now, and their defense is, in many people's opinions, the best in the league. Boy, that's how you win titles. You run it down their throats and you stop them, and you don't have to rely on your passing game much at all.
Yeah. All right. We're not the only ones excited about this. King 5's Drew Andre was busy this morning breaking down the playoff scenario as well. Here's Drew right now.
The Hawks get to rest up this week, and then they will host a divisional round game right here at Lumen Field on January 17th or 18th. Who they're playing, though, all comes down to what happens this weekend in the wild card round. The Seahawks, as the number 1 seed, they will get to play the winner with the lowest seed. So there's a good chance they could be taking on a divisional rival, Rams or 49ers. It all depends on how things shake out. Now, Saturday's win in Santa Clara over the Niners not only gives the Seahawks their winningest regular season in franchise history, but sportsbooks like DraftKings have Seattle as the favorites to win the Super Bowl. The 3 previous times in franchise history, the Seahawks have secured the number 1 seed. They've made it to the Super Bowl. Here's head coach Mike McDonald over the weekend.
Man, obviously just incredibly proud of our team. All the things that we've been working at since we walked in the door, especially this year, is coming to life, Just just incredibly proud of them. They played incredibly hard. They played together.
It's hard not to compare this team to the dominating defense of the Legion of Boom era. The Hawks won the Super Bowl in 2013 after a 13-win season and made it again in 2014 after 12 wins. There were just 16 games in a season back then. Now, this edition of the Hawks is scoring at a higher clip than those teams, just over 28 points per game, and it's allowing about 17 points a game, just above the marks set by those legendary defenses. One thing we do know is it is going to be expensive if you want to go to a divisional round game. Ticketmaster prices opened starting at just under $600. Reporting outside Lumen Field, Drew Andre, King 5 News.
All right, Drew, great stuff. Seahawks fans, whatever it costs, they're going, Paul.
But you know people that have season tickets, and they get these things. You could sell one of your tickets for this playoff game.
Pay for the whole year.
For the whole season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an investment, and the Seahawks are making it pay off.
Yeah, and you never know. You're like, okay, I'm going to skip out on this one and hopefully get to the next game, the NFC Conference. Well, you got to win this game.
Can't fault them for thinking a little bit like that.
And Drew mentions the defense, Paul. And there's so many guys on the Ernest Jones, DeMarcus Lawrence, a couple of veterans that have come here and just kind of found the fountain of youth, the way they played. Leonard Williams is playing lights out. Byron Murphy. I think I love the fact that you get guys, you've got Ty Okada, Drake Thomas, that just continue to step up for this team. So it's been fun to watch. Reek Woolen had a great game, I thought, against San Francisco.
Yeah, he went. Yeah, and remember the first game against San Francisco, he didn't have he probably had one of his worst games ever. But he got it together, circled back around, and all of a sudden, 5-6 games into the season, he's playing back the way everybody was used to seeing Reek Woolen play. And Mike McDonald made a point of that. He could have just curled up in the corner and rocked back and forth and said, my season's over. But, man, Woolen said no, and this is a contract year for him. So he knew that if he could put it together in the final 10 games or so, his price is going to go up, and it's going to be, look, we're sitting here thinking about it. I wouldn't get into the offseason, but that's a subject for another day. But who can afford to keep Reek Woolen? I don't know if the Seahawks will be able to afford him with other contracts they have to pay. So he's earning a nice raise right now.
No, he definitely is. And to see what he's doing and Spoon's doing, I mean, this we saw the LOB mentions there. This is just a different Seahawks defense right now. They're playing great ball. We also saw last night, Paul, if you watch the game on King 5 TV, it can come down to a kick. It can come down to an extra point. Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens. I mean, you've got a kicker that he's missed one extra point in 2 decades. Boswell misses an extra point with the season on the line, and then Baltimore sets up to win the game. They miss an extra point. Even though he wasn't at his best in Santa Clara against the 49ers, I feel like this is another plus for the Seattle Seahawks to have a young man by the name of Jason Myers, because he has been so clutch all season long.
Oh, yes. I mean, he went into that San Francisco game kicking the most field goals of anybody in the league this year. And, we talk about it all the time, and the evolution of the kicker in the NFL is ridiculous. I mean, these guys, the 50-yarder used to be a big deal. Then you crack the 60-yarder, and that's a big deal. And now it's going to be, at some point in the near future, it's going to be those guys regularly hitting 70-yard field goals. So Jason Myers goes out there in any condition and goes out there and hits 56, 57. Had that 61-yard attempt down at SoFi to beat the Rams on the final play and almost hit that one. So nothing is out of his range unless it's a ridiculous shot at the end of the first half. But I think he is clearly continuing to be one of the best kickers in the NFL and one of the most consistent.
Hey, you're a former college kicker. How key is experience? They were talking about it last night on Sunday Night Football. You've got this rookie from Baltimore. He's had a phenomenal season, but there's no substitute for experience. And when you get in the playoffs, you better have some type of experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. And before we move to that, Myers was kicking down there at Levi Stadium. The wind was swirling at the one end of the stadium. So, you can tell by those ribbons blowing at the top of those uprights that those are for real. When the wind's doing that, your ball is going to be doing something when it gets up there. So, in his defense, it wasn't exactly ideal conditions down there. But, when you talk about experience, because it's like basketball free throws, penalty kicks in soccer, NHL shootouts. You can do all that stuff and look really good in practice. You're cool move and everything. But when the pressure's on and the lights are bright, do you have the nerve to hold it together and make that shot under pressure? And that is key, Chris. I watched that game last night. I'm like, well, this guy's going to make it, and he missed it.
Yeah.
This guy's going to make it. He missed it. It's like pressure does strange things to people.
Pressure's athletes will tell us, Paul, pressure is a privilege, and the Seahawks are going to have that privilege to face some pressure coming up here in the playoffs. We don't know yet who they will play. Once again, could be the Rams, could be Carolina, could be Green Bay if they upset Chicago, could be San Francisco if they upset Philly. We don't know. It's going to be an interesting week. We do know one thing for sure, though, Paul. The fans. Yeah. They are back. Whether they went away, whether they went away or not. I'm not saying they went away, but home field advantage over the past few years wasn't necessarily there, Paul, at Lumen Field. It is definitely back. That Rams game, that place was shaking. It felt like the good old days were back. The 12s were back, Paul, and that's a plus when you are hosting playoff games. To own that stadium like they used to back in, I feel like the 12s are back. You can feel the vibe again.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's something Mike McDonald was a little bit frustrated, the fact that this team was not delivering early in the season for these 12s because he knows this is, in years past, has been a very difficult place to play. And it looks like, as you said, they're getting it back in there. Let's rewind to Saturday night when Seahawks fans packed Queen Anne Beer Hall for that Week 18 win. Jim Nelson was there as the 12s turned a regular season clincher into a full-on celebration. Here's what it looked like.
See. Fans watched anxiously as the fourth quarter wound down. Every first down brought them closer to victory. There was that teeny tiny worry after the missed field goal. But time was on the Seahawks side, and when it ran out, victory was here.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. It's been an incredible season, so go Hawks!
You just tried to back out of this. I'm not going to let you off the hook.
Oh, she's the pretty one.
Don't sell yourself short, buddy. How'd you feel about this one?
It felt really good. I mean, going into Santa Clara, not San Francisco, beating the Niners in their home turf. I mean, this is what we've been rooting for all season. You've seen them put together a complete game like this. It feels really good.
So the owners of this bar have another one right beside Lumen Field. They're already getting set for some home playoff games. And that's huge because this time of year, the first quarter for any of those businesses can be really tough without major events. So there is that economic impact to all of this as well.
Paul, I'm not going to complain about our jobs because I think you've said it in your promo, I think we have the best jobs out there. But Jim Nelson, you go back to the Mariners season, he always seems to be the guy in the bar after the game. He seems to always get that call, right?
Yeah.
He's always with the fans. I mean, that seems like
I love the advice you gave him. You said when you go out there, Jim, all you got to do is turn to them and say, "See."
Yeah. Hoax. Yeah. That's all you got to do. It's simple.
So in the case, he's got a pretty good gig, doesn't he?
It's not bad at all. 12s, I love you. You know this. We go way back, but I'm going to recommend a few things. I'm looking at all this video. A lot of Largent jerseys, a lot of Bobby Wagner, Richard Sherman, Russell. Let's get some Zach Charbonnet going. Let's get some Sam Darnold. Let's get some Kenneth Walker. Let's get some Ernest Jones. Let's upgrade the wardrobe a little bit, right?
I agree. That whole side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, you could get all those numbers out there, but we're seeing more and more. A lot of JSN numbers out there.
Yeah, sure. JSN has definitely deserved it for sure.
That's right.
Leading receiver in the NFL this season.
Yeah, all season long. Up next, we'll talk about the big news of the day. Former Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll fired. We'll break it down when we return. Welcome back. He built the Seahawks championship era, and now he's out in Vegas. Pete Carroll fired after a disastrous 3-14 season with the Raiders. From the Legion of Boom to one and done in the desert. What happened there, Chris, and what does it mean for the NFL?
Well, I mean, I think in the end, Paul, as we talk about the Seahawks, this is sad. 74-year-old Pete Carroll. You hate to see it go out like this. Where did it go wrong? I think Pete has a lot of faith in some of his former players. I think he had too much faith in Geno Smith, and we saw Geno Smith's interceptions this year with the Raiders. He had a rough season as well, and in the end, the Raiders just had a tough season in a division with a very good Denver Broncos team, but the Chiefs were down this season, so the wins were there. But as we look at the end of an era here, Pete Carroll, is this the last time he'll coach a football team? Maybe, Paul.
So, sure.
But what a career. Started in 1973 as a grad assistant at Pacific, defensive backs coach for the Buffalo Bills in 1984. Minnesota Vikes defensive backs coach 85 to 89. Became the head coach of the Jets in 1994. 49ers defensive coordinator, 95 to 96. Patriots head coach, 97 to 99. USC head coach, 2001 to 2009. AP national titles, 2003, 2004. Won the BCS title in 2005. Took over the Seahawks in 2010 through 2023 and led this team to 2 Super Bowls, Paul. 173 and 134 and 1 as in the regular season in the NFL. 11 and 11 in the playoffs. 97 and 19 his record in college football. I mean, we are talking, in my mind, Hall of Fame human being, Hall of Fame coach as well. I think his resume speaks for itself. Like I said, tough way to go out with the Raiders. I wish, Paul, when we look back, when he was at Lumen Field and he had his hat on backwards and he was kind of soaking in, I wish that would have been it for him. I really do. That would have been a perfect ending for me. You know, and John Schneider, we'll talk about him in a second. It was time to move on, but he's a Hall of Famer. It was a pleasure to work with him.
Yeah, and I think that one of the great things about Pete is those times with the Jets and the Bills, it was kind of like he was told, what to do and what not to do. And when he went to USC, he decided to do it his way. And that's kind of when it all turned around in his coaching career. He's like, he stopped listening to everybody else and just trusted his own instinct and his own way of doing things. And that's what turned it at USC. And he kept that going when he came to Seattle for 14 seasons. He just kept doing it his way and blocked out the outside noise. And we saw the production he got here with the Seahawks. So fun. And you know what? Personally, I'm spoiled. I had Mike Holmgren for the coaches show, Pete Carroll for 14 years. Now I got Mike McDonald. Like, as far as like local sportscasts, we both are.
Yeah.
Like everybody in the media in this town is very appreciative with the fact the run that they've had from Mike Holmgren to Pete Carroll and now Mike McDonald. We got it pretty good. Whereas the folks out in the Northeast have to deal with Bill Belichick for all those years, where it was just horrible and monotony. It's just, again, selfishly, us in the media loved having Pete and all the success the head coaches have had with the Seahawks.
Well, you mentioned he did it his way, and we wish him nothing but the best. And another man that's done it his way is General Manager John Schneider. And some, Paul, would say he is definitely up for Executive of the Year. When you have to make tough decisions, get rid of Pete Carroll, move on from Russell Wilson, move on from DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith, fan favorites, what he has done, absolutely amazing building back this team.
Yeah, you're right. He's going to be the Executive of the Year, and if he doesn't get it, it's going to be a shame. But especially because he's deserved it so many years past. But he's done a great job rebuilding this team and bringing in guys. The mid-season trades that John Schneider has made have been fantastic. I mean, the Ernest Jones, Quandre Diggs, you just go right on down the line. And this year, Rashid Shaheed with the Saints. So he goes in, he just has this magic touch to bring these guys in here in the middle of the season. And to their credit, they adapt to the new team and they start rolling.
Yeah, building it with defense. And one of his big moves is bringing in Mike McDonald, somebody you've worked very closely with, for what he has done in 2 seasons, Paul, to take over for Pete Carroll. I can't say enough about what he has done because those are big shoes to fill coming in after Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I mean, when they hired, look, John Schneider waited and waited and waited for the opportunity to talk to Mike McDonald because remember, the Ravens were playing very well. They lost in the AFC Championship game, and he finally got a chance to talk to him and make that offer, and it was well worth the wait. So 15-2 on the road under Mike McDonald, which is incredible. As we wrap it up here, let's talk about, there's 6 coaching vacancies out there. This is Black Monday across the NFL. It's usually when these teams are going to make all their firings, and there were Pete Carroll and a few others let go today. But when you look at some of these odds of guys taking over as head coaches in the NFL, maybe getting their shot, Clint Kubiak, Seahawks offense coordinator, is at the top of a lot of teams' lists to talk to.
And we go back to Pete Carroll, we go back to Mike Holmgren during their successful seasons. This is what happens every year. When you're doing great things, they're going to come after your coaches. And I still remember Pete Carroll at a press conference saying, these are my guys. These are my friends. I want them to go on and be head coaches. Right. So this is a compliment to the Seahawks organization that people want to come and talk to Clint Kubiak. And Paul, because of the bye week, Clint can have these conversations, but after that, it's time to focus in on the playoffs, and that's fine. But I think Mike McDonald would only want the best for Clint Kubiak, but he's done a great job here. But if you're going to say that these people are just, all these coaches are just going to stay here, it's not going to happen when you do well. There's a good chance several of these Seahawks coaches are gone next season. Hopefully that's after lifted up a Lombardi trophy, Paul.
That's the other thing is that Clint Kubiak is at the top of the Falcons list reportedly. So, of course, he spent time with the Saints as the offensive coordinator down there. They know a little bit about him in that division. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, Clint Kubiak is one of the top names being thrown around out there for a vacancy.
A lot of people want your predictions. But you know what? We can't predict when we don't know. We don't know who they're playing, so we can't do that. We're going to have to hold off on that, Paul.
That's right.
Correct?
Let's just sit on what we did. Let's just sit on the 12 and the 13.
13 win. That's what he predicted, everybody. If you would have just listened to King 5 Plus, watch it for all the latest in the breaking news. We got it for
Hang
you.
our hats on that.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, buddy.
All right, it's been fun. We'll see you next time.